Well, viewers, those are the headlines and our top focus. Russian strikes continue to hit Ukraine, targeting energy facilities across multiple regions. In Ukraine's Dnipro region, an overnight Russian drone attack has reportedly killed 2 people and injured 11 others, which also include 2 children. Now, as per official reports, Moscow launched 450 drones and 45 missiles overnight, hitting power and natural gas infrastructure across multiple regions in Ukraine, including Kiev, Kharkiv, Poltava and Odessa. Now, Ukraine relies on these energy facilities for heating, and experts have warned of potential technological disaster if key power plants go offline during the severe cold. However, imports of liquefied natural gas in the US through Poland are helping to secure winter energy needs in Ukraine. Meanwhile, in a separate development, Ukrainian President Zelensky has stated that Russian troops are massing near Vovchansk in northeast Ukraine. This is, of course, the latest that we are tracking on the broadcast as far as the Russia-Ukraine war is concerned. We've seen an increasing spate of attacks by both ends as far as energy infrastructure and power grids are concerned. Ukraine, on one hand, has been hitting Russian energy infrastructure. We recently saw that an oil refinery was also hit, Rosneft oil refinery to be very specific. An oil tanker was struck. On the other hand, Russia has been targeting Ukrainian power grids, which has resulted in power outages for hundreds of thousands, especially in the capital Kiev as well. Amidst all of this, fresh strikes have been reported. We're now learning that 2 people have lost their lives. 11 others, including 2 children, have also been injured in Ukraine's Dnipro region. As per official reports, Moscow launched 450 drones and 45 missiles, hitting power and natural gas infrastructure across multiple regions in Ukraine, including Kiev, Kharkiv, Poltava and Odessa. Meanwhile, on the ground, there have been reports, claims coming in from the Kremlin that Pokrovsk has been encircled by Russian troops. Ukraine has, of course, denied this, but if it were the case, it would be a very crucial city since it's a logistics hub for the Ukrainians and would then pave the way for Russians to advance further north. But despite what's happening on the front lines, we do know that aerial attacks are still continuing at the moment. We're now learning that 2 people have been killed, 11 injured in Dnipro in Ukraine due to an overnight Russian drone attack. As per official reports, as I mentioned earlier, Moscow launched 450 drones and 45 missiles, hitting power and natural gas infrastructure across multiple regions in Ukraine. Now, why this is crucial is because Ukraine, for obvious reasons, relies on these energy facilities for heating. We do know that winter is just around the corner, severe cold is just around the corner and could result in a disaster if key power plants go offline. Meanwhile, we're tracking further updates. We're now learning that amid rapidly escalating rumors of a rift between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, the Kremlin has come out and dismissed any sort of speculation that the Russian Foreign Minister has fallen out of favor with Putin. This comes after efforts to organize a summit between the Russian President and US President Donald Trump, which were put on ice last month. For 2 weeks in a row, the Foreign Ministry has also not disclosed Lavrov's travel plans and speaking engagements for the following week. President Putin has also picked someone else to attend the upcoming G20 summit in Johannesburg later this month, a role that Lavrov has filled in the past. Now, all these developments have fueled a lot of speculation that Lavrov, who has served as foreign minister for more than 2 decades, may have fallen from Putin's good graces due to the collapse of plans for the summit in Budapest. Now, addressing this particular issue, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has stated that there is nothing true in these reports and that Lavrov continues to work as the foreign minister of the Russian Federation. We do know that the G20 summit is going to be held very, very soon. It's going to be held in Johannesburg, in South Africa. In the meantime, it was being stated that Putin would be represented by Sergei Lavrov once again, as he has been doing so, but that is not the case this time. There are rumors that are now in fact escalating, and it seems that the Kremlin has come out and put in a statement with regards to this, dismissing any sort of speculation that Sergei Lavrov, Russian foreign minister for more than 2 decades, has in fact fallen out with Vladimir Putin. Kremlin has squashed all of these rumors. He is still working, is what the Kremlin has had to say. We do know that the Russian delegation at G20 will be led by Maxim Oreshkin, the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Presidential Office. The 43-year-old will lead the Russian delegation in Johannesburg from the 20th of November to the 24th. This is what the Kremlin had, in fact, informed back on Tuesday. Putin, of course, has not been attending these summits in person. In his place, Sergei Lavrov, who is his foreign minister, has previously led the Russian delegation numerous times. But this time around, it seems that he's also going to be skipping the summit and, of course, will be represented by one of his deputies as well. Interestingly, Maxim Oreshkin was the former economy minister. He also serves as Putin's special envoy for economic cooperation within the BRICS group itself, which includes founding members of Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, along with other countries as well. What does this signal? Of course, remains to be seen. But in the meantime, Kremlin, of course, coming out and quashing any sort of rumors of a rift between Putin and Lavrov. These rumors have been running rife for quite a while now, because for 2 weeks in a row, the Russian Foreign Ministry has not disclosed Lavrov's travel plans and speaking engagements as well. With us on the broadcast is Dr. Gilles Jacquet-Emmanuel, International Relations Professor, joining us from Geneva. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. There have, of course, been multiple developments that have been taking place. I'd like to address what I've just been discussing at the moment. This rumor of a rift between Putin and Lavrov. The Kremlin has come out and completely quashed any sort of speculations that are taking place. But I want to understand from you, is there any merit to this? Because Lavrov has served as foreign minister for more than 2 decades now. He usually represents Putin at high-profile international events, especially in the aftermath of the war, since Putin has not been attending them personally as well. But this time, it seems that Maxim Oreshkin will be going in Putin's place to Johannesburg.
Thanks for your invitation. When it comes to these let's say, internal issues among the governmental administration in the Kremlin, it's very difficult. We have usually less visibility and we may see some rising profiles, but very often we have to wait until further confirmation from the Russian authorities themselves. I don't know if there is, by the way, any misunderstanding or division or dispute between President Putin and Sergei Lavrov. Mr. Lavrov may not always appear in the media, unlike Western, for example, officials like to be very often in the media. The Russians, they communicate less, and very often they communicate when they have tangible elements. Now as well, it's true that Mr. Lavrov is old. He's a long-serving as well official and diplomat with extensive career and skills, but he's growing older, and maybe Oreshkin could be viewed as a successor, but once again, I think we are in speculations, and this type of speculations as well is often, let's say, fueled by Western governments who want to try to show some weakness or possible rifts within the Kremlin.
All right, so requesting you to stay on with us as we track further developments. Viewers, we're now learning that US President Donald Trump has stated that European Union leaders should show more respect to Hungary's right-wing Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, who has thumbed his nose at them over migration. Trump, who has carried out a sweeping crackdown on immigration at home, again alleged a link between migrants and crime, stating that Orbán has been right on immigration and that some countries are unrecognizable because of their lax policies. He's, of course, taking a dig at certain Western European nations. Orbán, meanwhile, has defended his opposition to migration and has lashed out at financial penalties imposed by the European Union on Hungary for defying the bloc. Listen in to what both leaders had to say.
I think they should respect Hungary and respect this leader very, very strongly, because he's been right on immigration. Look what's happened to Europe with the immigration. They have people flooding Europe all over the place, and it's hurting it. It's the crime rates are way up. A lot of bad things are happening. His crime rates are very low. They're the same as they always were, which is very little crime, because he's kept it the way it should be.
We are under sanctions, financial sanctions of European Union, because we don't let the illegal migrations to come to Hungary and to the European Union as well. So we have to pay, just to inform you, we have to pay every day 1 million euro as a punishment to the Brazilian budget, because we stopped the migrants. This is the absurd world we are living now in Europe.
All right, there, of course, viewers, we've heard what both Donald Trump and Viktor Orban have had to say. With us on the broadcast is Professor Gilles Emmanuel Jacquet. What's interesting is that this is not the only point over which Budapest has had a falling out with Brussels. Yes, its opposition to migration at large has been a point of contention, but also its stance as far as Ukraine is concerned. The fact that it's blocked multiple bids by the EU to ensure funding, that's also something that has really ruffled feathers in Brussels. What sort of a signal is now Donald Trump trying to give the EU with his remarks and his decision to in fact provide relief to Hungary as far as its energy imports from Russia are concerned, and what sort of weight does it really carry?
We know there is as well a long-standing, let's say, feud on one side between Washington and Brussels, and on the other side as well between Budapest and Brussels. The political agenda somehow of Orban and Trump are somehow close, because each of them want to defend the sovereignty of their country, even though it means sometimes going against, let's say, not just political correctness, but as well with existing agreements or frameworks or existing practice. We have as well here an opportunity for the President Trump to make some pressure on Brussels, or show from his perspective the weaknesses or the shortcomings of EU policies. We know that Ursula von der Leyen and the European Commission is not highly praised in Washington. They are rather not taken seriously or even respected by President Trump. So for President Trump, it's a way as well to increase this gap between Brussels and Hungary, and to support a country whose policies are viewed as similar policies. Though, when it comes to energy issues, we will see as well how this US-Hungarian relationship will work, because Hungary as well still relying on supplies of Russian gas. So we will see how it will be considered by the US administration.
Indeed, and I wanted to understand from you, in your perspective, how are we likely to see the European Union respond to this?
Well, there may be other pressure from Brussels on Mr. Orban. There may be as well other legal cases, for example, against Hungary from the different European institutions or their courts for the lack of respect, let's say, of existing EU regulations or policies. So you could have fines as well. There could be somehow some increased pressure, diplomatic pressure from Brussels, and maybe as well from other countries. But once again, it's not gonna, I guess, change much things, because we have a trend now as well in Central Europe, in the past in Poland, or even more recently we know in Hungary, Slovakia, now the Czech Republic. We have new governments,
yes,
or not necessarily new, because some of them, like in Poland, they keep on coming in power from time to time, but they express different views, clashing views compared to the agenda set in Brussels. And this number of countries opting for the defense of their sovereignty is growing in Europe. And they may find some support somehow from the Trump administration.
Indeed, sir. Requesting you to stay on with us as we track further updates.